Hi everybody, this is a review video for first graders Geography of USA Christmas edition. Okay, so here in the 1960s, USA's failure in Vietnam damaged its confidence and made it more cautious about foreign entanglement. So US was after World War II, US was keep expanding its influence over the regions in the world. So 1960, US experienced a failure in Vietnam War. So they lost its confidence a little bit. So America became more cautious about foreign entanglement. Okay? Entanglement, as you guys know, is a foreign involvement. When you decide to get involved with the other country's situation, America became more cautious after Vietnam War. However, what was effectively a defeat did not substantially alter Americans' global challenge. So you guys remember the meaning of alter, right? So alter means change. So Vietnam's experience doesn't really change America's global strategy, right? So here there are now only three places from which a challenge to American hegemony could come. So now after World War II, America became the richest country in the world. So there are only three places that American challenge for American hegemony or American order could come from, which is Europe and Russia and China. So all would grow stronger, but two would reach their limit. So by 1960s, all of these three areas, Europe, Russia, and China, they would become stronger eventually. But two of these three areas would reach their limits eventually. So the first, the dream of some European of an EU with ever close union and a common foreign and defense policy is dying slowly before our eyes. So Europeans, they always want to have a common foreign policy and common defense policy together. Unfortunately, it's not working. And even if it were not an EU country spend so little on defense, that ultimately they remain reliant on the USA. So European Union members, European countries, they are spending quite a lot of money on their defense. But however, ultimately, eventually, this European area, they are depending on the USA for the security, for the defense matter. Okay? So the economic crash of 2008 has left the European powers reduced in capacity and with little appetite for foreign adventures. So Europe went through economic crash in 2008 because of this unfortunate economic crash. Now Europe lost its huge capacity and huge appetite for foreign adventures. They only want to recover. They are more interested in recovering domestic situation after the crash, economic crash, 2008. Right? So the European is not a challenge for America anymore. Right? 1991, Russian threat had been seen off due to Russia's own staggering economic competence, military overstretch, and failure to persuade the subject masses in its empire that gulags and overproduction state-funded tractor was the way ahead. So now Europe is gone. Now we have Russia, but also Russia's threat. Russia's threat is also seen off. It's also removed in 1991 because of it's Russia's own fault. Okay, so there are three reasons why Russia lost its big power. First reason is staggering economic incompetence. Now, they selected communism, and their economic incompetence was one reason why Russia failed. And military overstretch. Russia always want to have a warm port area So they want to like stretch, they want to go over to other foreign territory militarily, but they did it too much and failed. And also, third reason, failure to persuade the subject masses. So subject mass is the citizens, okay? Maybe the Russian citizens. They fail to persuade the citizens in empire that Gulag is the prison camp. Russian government used to send people who oppose Russian political idealism. They used to send to gulags, and they oppressed other people. So people didn't really trust Russian government. Okay, so because of gulags and the overproduction of state-funded tractor, you know. Do you know what this is? This is a tractor, right? They're using this tractor for like agricultural matter, right? And Russia being a communism country, government plans all the production of tractors, and government plans everything, all the economy and agriculture and everything. And government they overproduced the tractors, too much tractors and too much agricultural rice maybe, and the demand was not high. So I guess the economy failed. Only the supply was high. So citizens didn't really trust Russian government because of this prison camp and this failure of communist economic plan. So because of these three reasons, Russia lost its power, right? And the recent pushback by Putin's Russia is a thorn of American side. So President Putin trying hard to rebuild Russia, try to make Russia powerful again, but you know it's just a little thorn in American side. Thorn is oh this is like I tried to throw a flower, right? And sometimes these flowers, they have this little thorn, right? Flower like rose. So Russia is just a little thorn in American side. So yeah, it's a little obstacle. It's a little bit irritating to American side, but not a huge threat for America. Russia is not a huge threat for America anymore. But not a serious threat to American dominance. So when President Obama described Russia as no more than a regional power in 2014, he may have been needlessly provocative, but he was wrong. So year 2014, Obama called Russia as nothing more than a regional power, which means that Russia is not an international superpower anymore. Russia is just a regional power, European power, not an international power. So when Obama says that called Russia as a regional power, maybe Obama was too provocative, too much, maybe. Obama was it was too much of calling Russia as regional power, but Obama was not wrong. Russia is not an international superpower anymore. So the bars of Russian geography prison, as seen in chapter 1, are still in place. So many obstacles. Russia still have many obstacles in its geography. And still here, and they still lack a warm water port with access to a global sea lane. So in order to be an international superpower, maybe Russia need more warm water port in order to develop more economy. And they need to have a global sea lanes. They need to have access to the global sea through this warm water port. And also Russia still lacked the military capacity in wartime to reach the Atlantic via Baltic and North Seas or the Black Seas and Mediterranean. So in the military emergency, Russia has to cover all these areas, Atlantic and Baltic, North Sea, Black Sea, and Mediterranean. Russia has to cover all this huge ocean over the world, and they need a huge amount of military power to cover this area, but Russia seems to lack those military power. So the USA was partially behind the change of government in Ukraine in 2014. So maybe in Ukraine in year 2014, Russia tried to pull Ukraine to Russian side. Okay, in 2014, Russia tried to pull Ukraine government toward Russian side, but behind the scene, USA interfered. They interfered Russian operation of pulling up Ukraine to Russian side, and it wanted to extend democracy in the world, and it wanted to pull Ukraine away from Russian influence and thus weaken President Putin. Yes, so America was involved in the extending democracy in the world, and America was involved in order to pull Ukraine away from Russia. Okay, they want to pull Ukraine away from Russia, and they want to weaken President Putin. And Washington knows that during the last decade, as America was distracted in Iraq and Afghanistan, the Russians took advantage in what they call their near abroad, regaining a solid footing in place such as Kazakhstan and seizing territory in Georgia. So when when American government when they were busy with the issues in Iraq and Afghanistan, Russia take advantage of the situation and in the near abroad area. So some student asked me the meaning of near abroad. So near abroad meaning is literally uh, close distance area. Country like Kazakhstan and Georgia. So near abroad means literally close distance area such as like Kazakhstan and Georgia. And while America was busy with involving with the situation in Iraq and Afghanistan, Russia tried to take advantage of this situation, and Russia tried to gain some footing, some base or some influence in such area like Kazakhstan and Georgia. And belatedly, somewhat half-heartedly, Americans have been trying to roll back Russian gains. No, half seriously, America find out that Russia tried to gain influence in Kazakhstan and Georgia area. So half seriously and little lately, America tried to roll back. They tried to roll back, remove Russian gains from Kazakhstan and Georgia. So what it means is that America find out about Russia gained some influence in Kazakhstan and Georgia. So America tried to remove those Russian gains in Kazakhstan and Georgia. But America was not serious. They were only half serious, and they take step quite late because it doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter that Russia take this Kazakhstan and Georgia influence because for America, Russia is not a serious threat anymore. Okay? So near abroad is, let me show you here. So we have Russia here, and we have Kazakhstan, and we have Georgia here. So literally near abroad means that close distance area from Russia. So while America was like occupied in like Afghanistan, where is Afghanistan and Iraq situation, Russia tried to gain some influence in Kazakhstan and Georgia area. Okay, so America, they half seriously and they quite late, they try to remove Russian gains in Kazakhstan and Georgia. Okay, so Americans care about Europe, they care about NATO, they will sometimes act if it is an American issue, but Russia is now for European problem. Okay? So America care about Russia. America is interested in Europe. They care about NATO situation. Only when, if there is American interest in Europe and NATO, America will try to interfere with this situation. But now Russia, for overall part, is for Americans, Russia is a European problem. Russia is not a serious threat, not a serious rival for America. So America consider Russia as a European problem, albeit one they keep an eye on. No, although America they keep their eye on Russian situation, but in general they consider Russia as a European problem. So that leaves China and China rising. So now only place that can bring some challenge to America is China. Okay? So most analysts written over the past decade assumes that by the middle of the 21st century, China will overtake the USA and become the leading superpower. So many analysts predict that the middle of the 21st century, China will overtake USA and become a superpower. For reasons partially discussed in chapter 2, not convinced. So our Tim Marshall, the author of this book, is not convinced that China will overtake US by the middle of 21st century. It may take a century. It may take 100 more years. See, economically, the Chinese are on their way to matching the Americans, and that buys them a lot of influence and a place at the top table. So, in terms of economy, yes, China might be able to like catch up with America and matching the Americans and have some influence economically. But militarily and strategically, they're decades behind. China is still decades behind. The USA will spend those decades attempting to ensure it stays that way, but it feels inevitable that the gap will close. So America will spend those years to try to maintain the gap between China and America in terms of military. However, that gap is likely to close, inevitably close, because China is developing really fast. Okay, so the reason why it take a century is because the concrete costs a lot, and it takes time to mix and pour the concrete wherever you want, right? So not just to mix and pour, but to be allowed to mix and pour where you want to, it's costly, it's expensive, it takes time. So as we saw with the destroyer for basis agreement, American assistance to other governments is not always entirely altruistic. Okay? Altruistic is giving, right? You guys remember. Giving without any expectation. So as we can see, from a destroyer for basis agreement between America and Britain, American assistance is not always very altruistic. They help out. They assist your country because they want something back from you, right? So here in this destroyers basis agreement, America gave destroyers warship to Britain, and Britain give their forward bases all over the world to America, right? So economic and equally importantly, military assistance buys the permission to pour the concrete, but much more as well, even if there is also an added cost, right? So if you help out other country economically or militarily, it not only gives a permission to pour the concrete, but also they let you do the advice. They let you give the advice to your foreign foreign strategy, foreign diplomacy. Okay. So, for example, Washington might be outraged at human rights abuse in Syria and express opinion loudly. So, for instance, America, they will be quite angry and they will speak loudly in international world about the human rights abuse issues in Syria because Syria is quite a hostile relationship with America. So America will blame Syrian government if there is an issue of human rights abuse issue. But when the same thing happens, when same thing happens in Bahrainian government, its outrage abuse in Bahrain might be somewhat more difficult to hear. You don't hear America blame Bahrain government, muffled as it has been by the engines of U.S. Fifth Fleet, which is based in Bahrain as the guest of Bahrainian government. American blame, American blame for Bahrain government is silenced, muffled, silenced, because U.S. Fifth Fleet is using Bahrainian base. So since Bahrain government let American Navy use their base, America doesn't really blame. They don't blame human rights abuse issue in Bahrain. Okay, so this is a give and take relationship. On the other hand, assistance does buy the ability to suggestion to government B, say Burma, that it might want to resist the overture of the government C, China. Not only that, if you help out, it give you the ability to suggest. It give you the ability to give some advice on international diplomacy. For instance, let's say that when Chinese government, when China tried to go into the Burmese government, America, they approached Burma secretly and they promised Burma government that America is going to assist Burma economically, and in return, America says to Burmese government, don't let China come too much into the market. And Burmese government listened to Americans' advice because America promised to assist economically to Burmese government. So in that particular example, USA is behind the curve because Burmese government only recently gained to open up to most of outside world. Beijing has a head start. So on this particular example, it refers to this previous one, the Burma situation. Okay, the Burma example. In this example, USA is behind the curve. Behind the curve means USA is interfering. It's interfere China coming to Burmese market. And Burma, they recently opened up its market, and Beijing, China, is closely located to Burma, so they have a head start. Beijing is one of the first government tried to go to Burmese market because it's closely located, but America behind, they are trying to interfere China to come into the Burmese market anywhere further. Okay, so this explains how America tried to maintain its influence in other foreign country, and this is why China probably might need more time catch up with American military and strategically. Okay, so let's call it a day here. Okay, we'll stop here and thank you for listening. So you guys did a good job, and we'll continue our video in next time. Okay, so everyone, thank you, bye bye.